and welcome back to the Win-Win Show. The recent Indian Airlines crash, as well as 4 hijackings in as many months, has brought back the focus on the most beleaguered ministry in Prime Minister Narasimha Rao's cabinet, the Ministry of Civil Aviation, headed by Ghulam Nabi Azad. Azad is a Kashmiri politician who stands for election from Maharashtra and is now right in the center of public glare in a ministry that has seen more strikes, crashes, hijackings and clashes than any other ministry in recent months. Does Ghulam Nabi Azad regret having taken over the glamorous portfolio that had forced the equally glamorous Madhav Rao Scindia to go into political hibernation? Does he think he can cope with the tensions, the anxieties, the heartbreaks? Let's ask him. Let's find out.
Three hijackings and a crash in less than a month has taken its toll as far as the Ministry of Civil Aviation is concerned. Its credibility, never very high in recent years, has now nosedived. But Minister Ghulam Nabi Azad remains confident that he can set it back on rails. Azad got the ministry only recently. Madhav Rao Scindia, the earlier minister, resigned on December 5th, a day before the Babri Masjid was demolished in Ayodhya, taking responsibility for the Tu-154 crash. In the next cabinet reshuffle, Azad got the ministry. With it came the strikes, the tensions, the messy state of the airlines, the security lapses, the hijackings, the anxieties. But then, Ghulam Nabi Azad, 45 this week, is a veteran of many ministries: Law, Justice and Company Affairs, Information and Broadcasting, Parliamentary Affairs, Food and Civil Supplies, Home Affairs. Who knows, maybe he will succeed in setting things right.
Do you regret having taken over a ministry that is proving so troublesome?
Well, I don't regret, but I must admit that this is a very transparent ministry as compared to other ministries. Because this is a service ministry which is being used by the most influential people of the country, maybe in industry, maybe in service, maybe in media, and in politics. It's not something that is like other ministries where people might say that something has happened in a particular place. Well, everybody is just using this particular facility, and by the night I have thousands of complaints from different parts of the country.
Every day?
Every day and sometime. So I might say that ever since I have taken this ministry, I have not been able to sleep well, because during the daytime it is the Indian Airlines people who do not allow me to sleep, maybe complaints because of the complaints coming from different parts of the country. And during the night time, the people from different parts of the world, maybe United States, UK, they try to contact during the night time.
Why did this Aurangabad flight crash?
वहाँ सड़क एयरपोर्ट के बहुत नज़दीक है। रनवे का जो एंड है उसके और रोड के बीच में शायद ही कुछ मीटर, 15 मीटर से ज़्यादा फ़र्क नहीं है। एक तरफ से हवाई जहाज़ ने टेक ऑफ किया इस साइड में, और बिल्कुल रोड उसके बिल्कुल इधर सामने से निकलती है, और उस रोड पे ट्रक चल रही थी, और जो साधारण ट्रक नहीं थी जिस पे कॉटन था। तो अभी जहाज़ पूरा हाइट गेन नहीं कर पाया था कि इसके सामने कॉटन से लोड किया हुआ ट्रक आया, और ये इसके जो पहिए थे वो कॉटन के साथ फंस गए, और उसकी वजह से फिर जहाज़ गिर गया। और उसमें जो पैसेंजर मरे वो गिरने की वजह से नहीं मरे, वो जहाज में आग लगने की वजह से मर गए।
How do you cope with it? How do you cope with pilot strike? How do you cope with engineer strikes? How do you cope with problems galore which seem to be multiplying every day? And of course, increasing losses, as in the case of Indian Airlines.
I must admit, I am not amongst those person who like to defend things just unnecessarily. I must say that at one time this was one of the best ministries, but in the past one decade, this ministry has become totally like a spoiled boy.
Why is
spoiled
that?
Children. Maybe because of a lot of unionism.
How much do you directly intervene in the functioning of these corporations, Air India?
Well, I
Indian
think
Airlines,
most of the
Iroute?
people do not understand that these are all corporations. Air India is a corporation, Indian Airlines is a corporation, and these corporations are headed by the CMDs, and they have their own board of directors, and most of the decisions, rather all the decisions and day-to-day functioning is the duty of the corporation. I cannot interfere even if I want to daily in day-to-day functioning. I have to issue as a direction. Minus direction, I cannot tell them. It is not binding for them to hear each and everything which I tell them.
What about things like modernization of fleet, uh, profitability of the organizations? Don't they come under your jurisdiction?
Well, modernization as for the airports is concerned, it doesn't come under neither under Air India nor under India Airlines. We have other two authorities. We have the International Airport Authority and we have the National Airport Authority. Since there's a plan allocation, to great extent we issue the guidelines, and I have a pleasure in announcing that in the coming 3 years we are going to spend almost 800 crores on modernization.
Fleet upgradation.
No, it's not fleet upgradation. It is the modernization of the airports. As for the modernization itself is concerned, we are going to spend 350 crores in the coming 30 months. And with this modernization, we will have the radar and automation of air traffic control. You might have seen that now on a number of occasions, so many aircrafts come together and they are being asked by the air control to just hang over because there's no something specific instrument with us. But after this modernization, that problem will be automatically solved. So we'll be solving that problem, jumbling of these aircrafts over the airport, and also we'll be saving lot of fuel. We are again going to spend 105 crores for the navigational aids and also installation of visual landing system and approach lights. So I can say that within 30 months, most of our airports, major airports, I must say the 80% airports of our country will be modernized and they will be one of the safest airports as far as our country is concerned.
But of what use is that if your planes don't run on time, if the service is poor, in air, on the ground? How are we going to
Well, we have also a fleet renewal program in phased manner because we have the aircrafts which are real. Some of aircrafts are fairly old. Well, as far the manufacturers are concerned, according to them, there's no life of the aircraft. Aircraft can be even if 30-year-old also, even 35-year-old. But to be a cost-effective and economically viable and to operate it without any major changes and all that, the safe is 20 years. Within 5 years, I would like to have the fleet with only 15 years of age. So we want to have a younger generation of aircrafts. So once we have the younger generation of the aircrafts, these aircrafts will be definitely snag-free.
But why does the government need to be in this business in the first place?
Well, that's why the privatization has started. Privatization in the sense that the private airlines people have also been allowed. But I think a country like ours, we need to have some government-owned or government-controlled aircrafts.
International.
No, even national also.
Why is that?
Because we have to perform some social obligations also.
What steps you are taking other than new navigational aids and other things? What steps are you taking to ensure that the safety standards of our airlines improve? What about the increasing dangers of terrorism, hijackings in midair?
Unfortunately, this is a matter of great concern for all of us, and particularly this year has been the worst year. In the past 4 months, we had as many as 4 hijackings, almost once in a month. Well, as for the first 3 hijackings are concerned, there was no security lapse on the part of the security. But as for the 4th one, unfortunately, it could have been very fatal, where the human factor has come between the hijacker and the police force and police officers on duty, because the hijacker pretended to be as if his legs were broken or something like that. He had put up the plaster and he had hidden 2 pistols inside these plasters. So I do not know exactly whether he was frisked or not, but that made him scot-free, and with the result that created and caused a major security
How
lapse on the
wasn't it
part.
caught on the metal detector?
Well, he was clever enough. He had put up some rods also, and the rod was visible even through the plaster, and just giving the impression that this is the iron rod which is beeping. I think in future we have to take number of steps. Number one, we have already said that there should be a careful checking of the passenger and also their personal belongings, and they should not confine themselves only to the electronic gadgets only, because sometimes the machine it can go wrong also. So they should restart the frisking also, and not only frisking at the inside but also on the ladders also, which we had some time back.
More delayed flights.
No, then it doesn't delay. It doesn't take much of the time. Then if you have to tell the passengers to come little earlier, maybe 10 minutes. So what's problem at the moment is that not only at Delhi but all over the country, that we have the police officers. The police officers, there's a rather multiplicity of, at the airport. The airports, they belong to the Ministry of Civil Aviation. The security officers, they are under the Home Ministry. And
In other words, you want to create like the railways.
Directorate of Enforcement is under Finance Ministry. So I have already suggested my ministry, Civil Aviation Ministry, to draw up a scheme whereby we can think of aviation security force.
Like the railway security.
Right, security, which can be much more dedicated, much more professionally competent, with higher degree of training and motivation. And they can be also non-transferable, because the people at the moment they are at airport. Sometime even if they are trained, that next time they might be in some thana, and maybe next day somebody from thana is again posted at the airport. So it's very difficult for him to keep the track of the events. And there's another factor, the deterrent punishment. Now, what has happened, according to the law, the punishment, minimum punishment is life imprisonment. But the law is so that it takes decades and decades together. By the time the judgment comes, the people totally forget. I am told that even in the last one of the hijackers, he said he had some bag with him. He did not want it to give the handover bag to police. He said, no, police people might put some thing, drugs in that, and then they will book me in drug trafficking. He did not knew that drug trafficking is not he cannot get much more punishment for hijacking. If the judgment is pronounced within shortest time, and if there's a summary trial, and if some people are hanged or some people are imprisonment for life time, I think that can be a good lesson for the one who do it just for adventure.
Born in a village called Soti in Bhadarwah, district Doda in Jammu and Kashmir, Ghulam Nabi Azad studied in various schools and colleges in his home state before completing his MSc in zoology from Kashmir University in Srinagar. He took an active role in politics from a very young age and was a member of the government's Peace Committee in Jammu, the National Integration Committee, the Gandhi Smarak Nidhi, and the Bhudan Committee. It was Sanjay Gandhi who picked him up for national politics as a Kashmir representative. But curiously enough, Azad has never fought a single election from his home state. He fought for and won his Lok Sabha seat from Wasim in Maharashtra.
Why have to spend much time on the politics of the state to which you belong, Kashmir? When you first joined politics, reportedly on Sanjay Gandhi's suggestion, you had joined it primarily to be a representative of Kashmir.
Yes, that's correct, but I think the whole luck turned after 79. In 79, when we were in a position, and we had an alliance with Sheikh Sahab at that time. We were in a position, and Sheikh Sahab Out of the 6 seats, he gave us only 1 seat of Jammu in exchange. The rest of the seats he contested himself. So there was no scope to contest from Kashmir. So Indira ji asked me to contest from Maharashtra. I contested and fortunately I won with a big margin. I was not known in that constituency and I won with few lakhs. And ever since then I confined myself to that constituency only.
Do you think you could win an election from Kashmir? From anywhere in Kashmir?
Well, in the normal conditions there should have not been any problem, but I think under these circumstances it is difficult for anybody to contest.
What do you see happening in Kashmir in the immediate future?
Unfortunately, at the moment the things are bad, and let's hope, we can only pray that things improve. And I think the people of the Kashmir must realize now, and the time has come, that they have been misled, and
Misled by whom?
misled by Pakistan. Their sentiments, religious sentiments, have been, exploited by Pakistan.
You don't feel that rigging of elections here
That's
has contributed?
That's not a major factor. We have riggings, unfortunately, in some other parts of the country. We had the rigging in Bihar also. I'm not saying who rigged it and which party, irrespective of the parties. But the question is, this was mostly because of the religious exploitation by the Pakistan to meet their political ends.
But haven't we given Pakistan an opportunity to exploit religious sentiments by the kind of things that have happened in India in recent months since December 6th?
Well, this is what I have said on a number of occasions, that the BJP should also learn lesson out of it. They are not, I have gone on record that they are, instead of, they are helping the Pakistan. If today we are blaming, and rightly so, because they are exploiting the sentiments of the people of Kashmir in the name of religion. So we must equally also blame the political parties who are exploiting the religion for their votes in our country.
Do you feel that people like Arjun Singh are right when they feel that not enough is being done?
Well, I don't think there's only one individual. I think there's the thinking everybody wants to do much. But I am a person who doesn't believe in this, in saying only. I think everybody will have to do something. Just accusing one person or other is not enough. All of us will have to do something. I strongly feel that the existing law must be further strengthened, whereby the religion should have no place in the politics, so that in future the people do not use religion for their political purposes. They contest the election, they reach the parliament and assemblies only on the basis of programs and policies which the people like.
Do you anticipate a new kind of militant minoritism as a backlash against militant Hinduism?
Well, that has already started, unfortunately. But I must say that each communalism is equally bad.
Do you see a change in Muslim leadership?
The Hindu communalism is bad, the Muslim communalism is much worse. So no religion or no person has right to be a communal.
Do you anticipate a change of leadership among Muslims?
In our country, there has never been a Muslim leadership. And if you say that, there has never been also a Hindu leadership. People get swayed away with the cheap slogans, and their sentiments are being roused by the slogans which are being used by the politicians or religious groups in the name of religion.
Do you anticipate yourself playing a bigger role in kind of providing a different kind of leadership to Muslims?
In our country, I have always been of the opinion the Muslim leadership may not be able to do much for the Muslim themselves, and it shouldn't be in a country like ours. What we need is a secularism. If a Muslim would like to do something for a Muslim, the next day he will be branded as a communal. So in the present circumstances, I think what we need, and we are not short of such people, we have very good Hindu secular leaders in our country, so have also Muslim good secular leaders. But unfortunately, these secular leaders You know, it's just like if you try to spread a good thing, if you try to preach a good things, it might take you years together. So what we need in our country to encourage both the Hindu secular leaders and Muslim secular leaders, and that can be a binding force. And these two Hindu secular leaders and Muslim secular leaders can bind both the communities together.
Do you think your party is ready to activate a program for that?
Sure, there's a lot of potential in our party.
Do you find a lot of time being spent by senior members of your party discussing these issues?
Well, I am afraid we are not spending that much of time as we should have.
Ghulam Nabi Azad's links with Kashmir are tenuous today, but he remains in the Z category of security. He insists, however, in keeping his bodyguards few and inconspicuous. He has held many positions of importance within the Congress and, surprise, surprise, never changed party, never joined any dissident group, never got embroiled in any major scandal or controversy. He was arrested and jailed several times during the Janata years when he was General Secretary of the All India Youth Congress. After becoming an MP in 1979, Azad took over as President of the Youth Congress in 1980. In 1982, he joined the Union Ministry for the first time as Deputy Minister of Law, Justice and Company Affairs. Since then, he has held several other ministerial portfolios as well.
Tell me, how many requests do you get every day? Unusual requests, requests for special favors, transfers, upgradations, special flights.
I got the survey done in the month of March. Just to educate myself, I chose the month of the March, and I wanted to know by the end of the month that as how much justice I am able to do with my ministry or with my department, both tourism and civil aviation. So I calculated on the basis of 24 hours at my disposal. I kept 6 hours for my sleep, and 18 hours I kept aside, and out of 18 hours I kept 1.5 hours, half an hour each for my breakfast, lunch and dinner, and also morning other things, and 16.5 hours I kept only for the public and officers. You will be surprised to know that by the end of month, after 30 days, I came to conclusion that in these 30 months, I was alone only for 3 hours. For 30 days, I was alone 3 hours in my office. That means I was not alone more than I had no time to think on something. Alone for more than maybe hardly 5 to 6 minutes.
Do you think you were left behind a lemon in the sense that the ministry was in a terrible mess when you inherited it?
No, I won't say like that. Even my predecessor, Mr. Madhurav Sindhia, during his tenure, he also tried his best to streamline the ministry, and to a great extent, he had achieved some success. But as I have said, that this is a spoiled ministry for the last few years, because there are a number of reasons for that, because there have been change of governments, very frequent change of governments, very frequent change in the ministries, very frequent change in the management, CMDs, both in Indian Airlines and Air India. So frequent changes in the government, frequent changes in the ministries, frequent changes in the policies, frequent changes of CMDs does really makes things worst.
What do you see as the quality of our existing pilots?
Well, our pilots are quite trained.
But many of them are moving out of our airlines and going into private services, going into international airlines. I'm told that over 100 pilots have resigned their jobs.
That's true. That's true.
With over 100 good pilots going away, are you really left with the not so good pilots?
But I must say that 100 good, high quality pilots have left, but we have also still very good pilots. I might say that we have still the competent pilots, but we are short of pilots, we can say that.
But your salaries are not attractive enough to attract good pilots from other parts of the world.
Well, that's very difficult, because in other parts of the world they pay too much. I think which pilots also will have to understand that it's not only the pilots who are not being paid more. For that matter, each person, right from prime minister or president of the country and down below, is not comparable with any other part of the world. So it's not only pilot. Sometimes they try to equate themselves with the pilots and engineers of different parts of the world. But then if we do so, then we have each officer, each employee, each politician will try to compare himself with his competitor or his equivalent in different parts of the world. We have to work under the conditions, Indian conditions rather, than equating or comparing ourselves with the employees of other airlines in different parts of the world.
But would you like to stop them from joining, let's say, private air taxi services?
Well, as soon as I joined, I have started discouraging them, and also we have said that they will have to procure the no objection certificate, and unless they procure the no objection certificate, they cannot go to the private airlines.
And on what basis is the no objection certificate given?
We have made some changes in the rules. I'm not against the operating of air taxis. This is good. But the basic purpose of air taxis is to augment and to strengthen the airlines. But if they are taking the engineers and pilots from the Indian Airlines, that means that one airline will be grounded and another airline will be in the air. So that should not be the purpose, and that's not the purpose.
That was Ghulam Nabi Azad, Kashmir's contribution to national politics. A minister who, for a change, is ready to discuss his ministry with facts and figures. Does he sound convincing? Will you feel safer next time you catch an Indian Airlines or Air India flight? Or is it just bravado, heading as he does a tough and thankless assignment?